guys, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Made Podcast. I am very excited about this week's episode because if you know me, I'm very much a self-development mindset junkie. I love all of the motivational quotes. I love all those sounds you see on TikTok or Instagram, all the reels. I eat it up. I love it. I thrive off of it. That's probably my favorite type of content to consume. Me and my brother send each other them on the daily. That's all my For You pages, all my real explore For You pages. I eat it up. And honestly, I've come across, honestly apologize for the interstate you can hear. I don't know what else to do. I tried to switch rooms today filming my episode, a new little studio, and it's not any better. It might be honestly worse, I'm not sure. So if you can hear the cars, I apologize, but everyone in Arizona just thinks that they can just zoom by all the time. Whatever. Anyway, I digress. We're gonna get back to the podcast because I wrote down 25 quotes that have changed my life, or things I've heard in those reels on Instagram, just pretty much one-liners, mindset shifts that I've adapted into my life and have really just been those whoa, those aha, that's really good, that's so true kind of moments. And I'm just gonna share them with you and kind of talk about all of them because I know how much they've helped me and changed my life, so I know at least one of these 25 will help change your life as well, if not all 25, because I think mindset is everything. And that's one thing I think I've really adapted into my life recently, is understanding that life is a mindset. We can choose to I don't know, I feel your mind is just so powerful. You can really take control of your life, and a lot of it through your mind. And I get I don't want to get too far into the mental health aspect because honestly I'm not very educated on that. I've never personally struggled super bad with much of any. I've dealt with anxiety a little bit, but other than that, I personally have never experienced it, so I don't want to talk about that, and that's a whole other topic. But for me, this is just me kind of how I can talk myself through a lot of my life, my personal life, my experiences, and I just think every decision is based on a conversation that we've had with ourselves. Every time we choose to do something, it's based on our own thoughts. We talk to ourselves all the time. I've really noticed this when I get running, I'm sitting there talking to myself my entire run. It's hilarious, but it's just dialogue that we have, and I think it's so cool. What's that thing on TikTok? People some people don't have that inner voice, which I think is bizarre because I'm my inner voice is my best friend. That's who I talk to the most. I'm introverted. I sit and I just do I sound crazy? I don't know. But I just think your mind is so powerful, and we really can control our mind a lot of the time. And it's really hard, I feel because a lot of the masculinity and a lot of the feminine sides, I love that. I want to be in my feminine energy, and I want to be, sometimes I have a lot of masculine energy just because when I was born and raised with two brothers in the middle, I didn't grow up with sisters, and I've just kind of always been more of I've just honestly looked up to my brothers and my dad so much, and my mom, but mainly the men in the house, just because I don't know, it's just how I was. There's more of them than us, and so I kind of adopted a lot of that masculinity. I feel so one thing too, this has nothing to do with the podcast, but I feel it's funny because I'm definitely attracted to men that are very much in their masculine, and I've learned this recently about myself, because then it allows me to kind of step away and out of that energy, that masculine side of myself, and I can become more feminine. And I love that. I love an alpha masculine guy. That's definitely what I look for. That's what I'm attracted to. And I think it's just because I feel held so much of the masculine energy, and it's nice to just feel you can release and not have to control that side of yourself. But that honestly, anyway, that was so not even really about this episode, but we just chat on here. It's never too scripted. I really don't script much of my podcast out. I just take notes and then we chat because I want to keep it real. I really don't even edit these. I only edit when I fumble on my words, and you guys would have no idea what I'm saying. But I just think your mindset's so important because you have to decide on what type of life you want to live. It's up to you, and it's up to your mindset, and you can talk yourself into anything, and you can talk yourself out of anything, and I mean that. I really truly do. And sometimes I think it's just a matter of how to have that conversation with yourself, and I think that's where it can get hard, and that's where it can get tricky. So I feel these quotes, these one-liners that I'm going to share with you guys can possibly help you in some of those times, just because they help me. This is a constant reminder. A lot of these circle through my head every single day. But yeah, one thing they always say is a negative thought will never give you a positive life. And I'm that's not even one of the 25, but I just saw that, and I'm that could not be more true. Your thoughts are so freaking powerful, and it's really take advantage of that, because what you give off is what you attract. I believe in that. And so it's like, give off the positive, give off the encouraging, the happy vibes, and that's what you'll attract. And that's, I don't know, just like when you focus on growth and you focus on the good stuff comes to you, the growth comes to you. And yeah, so that's the introduction to my 25 mindset tips, one-liners. I don't even know what to call this. Like, I really don't. I was trying to think about it before I filmed this, but I was like, you know what? It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of quotes. It's a little bit of one-liners I heard on like a podcast and I wrote down. It's just, I'm excited. We're just gonna hop right on in. The first one-liner, I think this one's pretty common. I feel like you've probably heard this one before, but it's, life happens for us, not to us. And I think that this really resonates. I feel like when a lot of negative things maybe, happen in life, and the thing is, bad things are going to happen in life, and it's bound to happen. But if you really look at it with the approach of like, it's happening for us, like your boyfriend breaks up with you, or your boyfriend cheats on you, which I hope to God, like I pray to God that that doesn't happen to any of you, but sometimes like getting cheated on is like what it takes to like get you out of that relationship, because I think it's easy, to like look away from the red flags maybe that you're seeing in the relationship, or you're kind of in denial, and it takes like him to do something like that to get out of like a very toxic relationship. That's really deep and really just, whoa, like we're just jumping straight to it, but like it's happening for us, not to us. Like that happened so we can get out of that relationship and we can be happier and we can find a better man who will treat you right. So it's like looking at it and understanding like everything happens for a reason, and all the bad, there is good in the bad. Sometimes you just have to find it, but like I said, if you focus on the good, you will find the good. It may take an hour, it may take 5 minutes, it may take a year. Like you never know how long it's going to take for you to have that like aha moment, but it will happen, I promise. So it's like, as hard as it can be sometimes in life, I get it, but you can to stay positive in those moments. And then that brings me to the number 2, and I say this all the time, and I want to start with this one just because like early on in the list, because it's so impactful, and this one really changed my life. It says that rejection is God's redirection. So when you feel rejected by a job, or by a person, or by a relationship, or by a friend, like anything that you feel rejected by, understand that that is God working in his power to redirect you for something better. And again, it kind of reminds me of what I said at the beginning of life happens for us, not to us. And like if a man cheats on you or something, it's like that might be God just redirecting you for like a new man. But if you feel any sense of rejected by a guy that you really like and he doesn't like you back, it's like he's not the man for you, and you just can't necessarily see that. But there is better out there. And same with like friendships though. It's not even just dating, but like friends. Sometimes I feel like it's hard to make friends or click with certain girlfriends, but you do have that like friendship. There is that friendship out there. There is that bestie. There is that like friendship you've been longing for. But sometimes it causes, you have to be like redirected to find that. And same with a job or career. Like if you're fired and you feel like you've completely failed, or something is just like, and nothing's coming together like you thought, and you're burning out and stuff, it's like maybe this is a sign to like redirect and try something new, because why be miserable? Why be stuck in something that isn't serving you and making you happy? Redirection is everything, I think. And like I really like to reflect on my life, the people in it, what I'm doing with my life, like as much as I can, honestly, just to really check in with myself. I'm huge on reflection and just being self-aware of how I feel and how I am. And I don't know, I just think like I'm not scared to redirect. I'm not scared to make changes, because change is scary. Change is so hard. But I think I've really in the last year kind of embraced change and found the beauty in it, and found the beauty in how much growth there can be in those moments. So every time I'm redirected, I just know that good is to come, and there's gonna be so much growth to come, and I'll learn so much and make so many new connections, friendships, memories, find a new layer of myself and like intuition. And I just think that's so cool and so special. So focus on that part of it. But yeah, okay. And now moving on to number 3, and that is the decisions that we make today will be the outcomes that we see in like 3 to 6 months. I heard this on an Ed Millett podcast, and I was like, whoa. And he was like, the work that you're putting into your career or your job, or the work that you're putting in at the gym, or the foods that you're eating today, or the relationships and the way you're treating people now, you're gonna see the repercussions of that 3 months to 6 months down the road. So all the hard work you're putting in for work, you're gonna see the payout. You're gonna see the physique. You're gonna see the relationship blossom. Like think about it. Like I always tell people, it's gonna take about 3 months to see like an actual physical difference in your physique if you've like are new to the gym and you're really working your butt off and you're like, I'm not seeing anything, I'm like, patience, patience, patience. Patience is huge, you guys know. I literally made a whole episode on that a couple weeks ago, but you have to be patient in the gym. But it's like the 3-month mark is typically where you start to see those changes. And same with relationships. They always say, I feel like this is just something I see linger kind of on the internet, but it's like after 3 months, that's typically when you know with like a significant other if it's gonna like further and become something very serious. And I wholeheartedly believe in that. I've like seen that in myself too with guys. Typically between like 2 and 3 months is kind of where you're like, all right, we've been talking for a while, is this gonna get serious, like, or are we gonna see other people, you know? And I feel like that is just, it's kind of that magic sweet spot, but it goes also too in the sense of like the work. And I think that one was the hardest for me to like wrap my brain around, but I'm like, it's so true. Like it really, really is. Like the decisions I was making work-wise 3 to 6 months ago is the one, it's what I'm kind of finalizing and wrapping up right now. But also like last month, 2 to 3 months ago was the summer and I wasn't working as hard, so I didn't see as many growth spurts and benefits to my career like last month that I wanted to. But I'm like, it's because a few months ago I was slacking off. I'm not gonna lie. And so that I was like, after I sat there and thought about it, I'm like, he couldn't be more true. And so when you're making decisions, do it for your future self, because that's who's gonna be suffering the consequences, whether it's good or bad. And I think we always kind of lean into like that instant gratification, but it's like, those are like, I feel like the instant gratification is like the high you get in that exact moment. So it's like, instead of going to the gym and being lazy and enjoying a cozy night in, it's like you feel great then, but in 3 to 6 months, you're gonna wish you would have gotten to the gym and put in the work, you know? So keep that in mind when you're making those decisions. And I don't know, probably through the end of this podcast, you're probably gonna get the vibe that I'm a little bit more back to like my hardcore grind mindset, because I think I got a little soft on myself, I'm not gonna lie. And again, it's your decision, it's your life, it's your choices. You can do whatever you want. Like I know a lot of people like balance and do this and you know, like you do need to like have time for yourself and to relax and to do it and like enjoy life. I want everyone to enjoy life. I want to enjoy life, but it's like also too, to get to where you want to be, you have to do things you don't necessarily want to do all the time. And that top like 10%, they're not doing what the bottom 90% are most of the time. And it's like, so you do have to have that grind and that hard mindset most of the time. And I think I really learned that, and that really became apparent to me, because I think I was so grind, go hard for so long. And then I was like, wait, I need to step back. I need to enjoy life. I need to be softer, kinder, chiller on myself. But then I'm like, it really honestly didn't get me anywhere, and I thrive off of being productive. And I just know that about myself. I thrive off a very competitive, driven, hardworking, boom, 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 boom mindset. Again, it's probably how I was raised. But it just makes me feel better, and I see the most success in myself when I'm doing that. So a lot of these quotes are going to be very like hardcore probably, but it's just how my brain's wired, and I think it's just what clicks and what makes sense to me and my success and what gets me to where I want to be. Anyway, moving on to the next one. Number 4, failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the success. And I was like, oh my gosh, my jaw dropped when I read this. I think this was a quote that I actually saw on Pinterest, and I was like, save pin, like I need to remind myself of that, because failure is not the opposite of success. It's not. People always say like, if you're failing, then you're trying and you're gonna succeed after you fail. But if you're not failing, you're not pushing yourself hard enough, you're not learning enough, failure is part of success. Like it's just part of it. It's a stepping stone to succeed. And failures, you learn so much. You learn more in a failure than you do in your successes. And there's another quote down here later on that I'll talk about that's similar to that, but it's like, there's honestly more beauty in a failure, I feel like, than the success. And yeah, I was just like, it's not the opposite of success. And I feel like we've always kind of, I don't know, thought that societally. Like I feel like we've always looked at it as opposites, and it's just simply not. Okay, number 5. Oh, I like this one a lot. This is another quote. It says, be so rooted in yourself that nobody's absence or presence can disturb your inner peace. And this was one that I really needed to hear probably a month or so ago. I kind of talked about, I think it was on actually my YouTube channel, but I was talking about dating, and I think I got so wrapped up in boys, honestly, in dating and in life, which is normal. I'm a 22-year-old girl, I'm single, like I've been single, and I was kind of wanting to date around, and I think my standards were dipping because I was like getting impatient. I wanted a boyfriend, And 2, I was letting these boys affect me so much, and I was like, I'm losing myself. That's what it was. It wasn't that I really liked these boys. It was I was losing touch of who I was and myself as a person. I was losing touch of myself in my work. I wasn't as focused in like the grind, I guess, of my life and like the gym and eating right and just doing all those things. I feel like I was becoming too flexible for these guys. And these guys, like there's a ton, no there wasn't, but just like trying to date around, you know, I was like giving too much of my time and energy to that. And then like there was this guy I kind of started to like, and me talking about my dating life, I know you guys like it, so I'll share some tea, but there was a guy who I kind of started to like, and it kind of fizzled out a little bit, and I got my feelings hurt, and I was like, oh my gosh, and it was affecting my mood if I would hear from him that day or if I wouldn't. And my friend would be like, you good? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm just like da 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 da, and I started talking about like my boy drama, and she's like, stop letting him have his power over you. And I was like, you're so right. Like, but when I saw that quote, I'm like, that's why it had so much power over me, is because I wasn't rooted in who I was. I lost touch of Chloe. And that's kind of where the whole like getting on my hot girl shit came from a week ago, last week's episode. And that was based on the week before. So like the past couple weeks, I've just felt so much more myself, and I feel so happy, and I feel like I'm not out there seeking a relationship or seeking boys' approval. It's like I'm just gonna do my thing, and I don't know, it'll come to me in the right time. Or I just also too, like, talking to guys, when you're more rooted in who you are, you're a lot less affected on like if they like you back or if they don't like you back. Or same with friendships and work. It's like when you know you're a good person at heart and you're giving it your all and you're focused on you, you're a lot less affected by anyone else's opinions and their approval of you or not, you know. So that's a good one. I hope you guys liked that one, because that one really changed my mindset with like everything. I'm like, yeah, we're focusing on me, we're getting rooted in who I am. And when you are like that, I swear, like I am a living example of that. Like I'm not affected by it anymore. If I hear from him, I do. If I don't, I don't. Like I literally don't care. Do I still kind of like him? Maybe, but like but also like, and it doesn't affect my mood. Like I'm not happier because I heard from him, and I'm not sadder because I didn't hear from him. Like I'm literally so chill because I'm so content in who I am and how happy I am, and the happiness I can create for myself, that it's not dependent on anybody else. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, I guess, but that's just where I'm at, and I'm living a pretty happy life right now. So anyway, moving on to number 6. Oh, this one's good. This one's good. Nothing changes if nothing changes. All right, I'm gonna say that one more time. Nothing changes if nothing changes. It's simple, but like you really kind of got to think about it. So it's like, if you want to make a change, and if you want, say, example, you want to lose 5 pounds, how do you think you're going to do that? Well, you're not going to do it by doing exactly what you're doing right now. You have to change something, whether that's working out more, doing more cardio, eating better, making better eating decisions, like sleeping more, literally, because that does help with recovery and all that. So nothing changes if nothing changes. You have to make changes to see change. It's simple, but I'm like, it's so simple we don't understand it. It's like we really overcomplicate a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's like, think about what you want to see a change in, and then make a change in your life that will lead you to that result. Like obviously you're doing something in your life that isn't leading you to that, so see how you can fix it, and then boom, problem solved. It's simple. It really, really is. Anyway, number 7, the direction is more important than your speed. This is kind of relating back to the topic when I was talking about patience. And I feel like we need to be achieving all these things so quickly, so young. We need to be married by this age, and we need to be having kids by this age, and we need to be CEO by this age. Like, there's no timeline to life. We create that for ourselves, but there is no, God wasn't like, okay, everyone needs to be married by 25 and have kids by 30 and retire by 65. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are and where you're at in life to do anything. You can start a business at 14, or you can start a business at 42. You can make your first million at 14, or you can make your first million at 60, and you can still be just as successful in life and make as much of an impact. It's like, stop stressing about where you're at in life. I literally was talking to my mom on the phone about this today, and I was like talking to her about some of my work stuff, and I was like, Mom, I really need to remind myself, like, I'm 22. Like, I put so much pressure on myself like I'm 32, but I'm like, even if I was 32, like, it's okay. I'm like, I'm really just trusting in the timing of my life, and I'm like, nothing right now. I feel like what I'm doing right now is what I'm meant to be doing. I'm like, if I was trying to do something else, it would be too much. It wouldn't be authentic. It wouldn't feel right. It would be rushing it, and it's just not the moment for that right now. Like, what I'm doing right now, I feel like is truly what I'm meant to be doing. And I just think, like, a lot of my friends on social media, like, heck, some of them are 28 and they are like, their career didn't start until last year, and they're like, so think of, like, I'm 22. I'm like, that was 5 or 6 years of their life. They had no idea they were going to be where they're at now. So it's like, I have no idea where I'm going to be at in 6, 7, 8 years. Like, so much is yet to come. And so it's like, slow down and breathe. And I'm like, I need to understand what I've done already at 22. I'm like, I'm really hard on myself. So it's like, appreciate how far you've come, but understand that wherever you're going to go is going to happen at the right time. So it's not about the speed, it's about the destination. So just have those goals in mind, have something to work for and work towards, but don't feel like you need to, like, pedal to the metal, like, rush through it. And, like, I think taking your time with things is the best way to go, because it's going to be more, you know, you're going to give yourself more time to, like, trial and error and perfect it and really feel confident in it. And yeah, I like them. I like all these. I'm going to say that about every single one. But anyway, next one is, don't take criticism for someone you wouldn't take advice from. Yeah, I wish, if you're listening, I wish you could see my face. Like, think about that. Why are we sitting here letting people affect us who we wouldn't be sitting there looking up to? Like, if you don't look up to them and wouldn't trust them, say someone's on TikTok, I get trolls a lot on, especially my viral videos, when it's, like, not my true followers, like you guys that I love, and you guys are just the sweetest people ever. But when it's people who don't know me and they comment some, like, crap, I used to let that affect me back in, like, the beginning of the day. But I'm like, I would not take any cooking advice from these people, or workout advice from these people, or business advice from these people. So why am I letting their criticism affect me? But that goes in every aspect of life. Friends, boyfriends, relatives, anyone. It's like, don't let their hate and their criticism affect you if you wouldn't trust them with advice, you know? I just feel like most people who are criticizing you are the ones you shouldn't be taking advice from anyways. Otherwise, they're trying to help you. Like, people who you would take advice from, they're not typically criticizing you. It's like constructive criticism, you know? And there's a big difference between that. So that just, yeah, that's pretty much just talking about constructive criticism. So just make sure it's that, and not them just hating on you because they're jealous of you or your successes or whatever. I feel like what people say is more of a reflection of them than it is you. So you know. Okay, this one's simple. Just act like the person you want to become, and you will become that. Once you start acting like that, and it's bound to happen. Like, it's simple. It really is. A lot of these are so simple. Yeah, we don't do them because we overcomplicate it. But it's like, if you want to be, I don't know, what's an example? A runner, start acting like a runner, okay? Start running. Start eating like a runner. Start training like a runner. Start having the mindset as a runner. Start dressing like a runner. Or if you want to be, I don't know, like I'm blanking on examples, but it's like, just start acting like who you want to become, and you will become it sooner or later. When you start taking the actions that they're doing, it's bound to happen. Like, you're setting yourself up for success. Are you going to fail along the way? Probably, but you're still one step closer to becoming that person as you are slowly becoming that person, you know? I feel like I did a poor job of explaining that, but I hope that resonated with you guys in some way. Number 10, the enjoyment is in the journey, not the destination. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. I wanted to bring back to the opposite of, like, success and failures, but I really found this to be true while I was training for my half marathon. I don't remember if I've talked about this on my podcast or if I've talked about it on YouTube. Regardless, if you're new here, you haven't heard. But when I was training for this half marathon, I finished my half marathon. I finished, like, the actual race day, and I thought I would feel this, like, overwhelming sense of, like, accomplishment and happiness and just joy, you know? And I did, don't get me wrong. Like, I was very proud of myself and very happy, but it was like, I felt just as happy crossing that finish line, I feel like, than I did accomplishing my first 5-mile run, my first 10-mile run, like, the hard runs that I didn't want to do, and I pushed through and I did it. Like, all of those moments where I didn't want to run, but I did it anyways, or I PR'd, or I had a really good run. Like, I feel like I felt just as much enjoyment in all of that than I did that the actual race day. There were so many more happy moments and happy experiences that outweigh by a landslide, if you combine them, than like actually the race day succeeding in doing the half marathon. And I just thought that was so funny, because I'm like, it's so true. So like right now I'm training for another half marathon, and I'm like reminding myself of it, and I'm like, Chloe, soak this up. Like, this was when I loved life when I was training for my half marathon. Like, I just felt so accomplished. I felt so productive. I felt good in my body. I was eating better. I was drinking better. I was sleeping better, just because it made me run better. And I was just a better version of myself. And so I'm like, enjoy the journey of it right now, because I loved it so much before, and I'm loving it so much now. I'm loving it more because I'm truly appreciating it. And I think honestly I'll just keep training for half marathon. Like, I think I'm always just going to be running now, because it like makes me feel so good. But it's just that one really was so apparent to me with running. But it's true in every aspect of life. College even, like, everyone's so fixated on getting graduation and like getting that cap and getting the diploma and getting out of college, but like everyone's always like, you look back and it's like those 4 years, there's so many fun, amazing memories that you can make and people that you can meet. And I mean, I don't even like college, and I'm using this as an example, but it's like, just enjoy the journey of getting there rather than rushing to get there and thinking you're gonna have all this like excitement. It's like, it's so short-lived, like the day of the actual success. That's like such a small portion of it compared to like all the beauty that the journey can bring to you along the way. So I really like that one. On to number 11, and this one's simple, this one's basic. This is gonna probably be life-altering, but learn to enjoy difficult things. I feel like oftentimes we really avoid and we really neglect and we push away difficult tasks. Anything difficult, we like comfort. We do. We seek it. Who doesn't like being cozy and comfortable? I do, especially in like decisions. Like, it's in human nature that we are going to gravitate towards comfort, but because we are uncomfortable in the difficult times, you know. But it's like any difficult task, like, learn to enjoy it, learn to find the beauty in it. And again, it reminds me of running. Running is very difficult physically, at least for most people, but it's like I've learned to enjoy that, like kind of like that pain, you know. Like, I kind of thrive off of it, because it honestly, like, the runner's high is a real freaking thing. Like, I'm still on it from this morning. I ran 8 miles and it was like the best 8 miles I've ever ran. But it's like that pain is so temporary, and like the reward is so huge and so big for me. Like, an hour and a half of my day being in pain. Well, I wasn't even really in pain today. It was honestly a beautiful run, but most times I'm kind of in pain a little bit. But it's like the other 22 and a half hours of my day, did I do the math right? I hope I did, are so good. Like, they're so beautiful and I'm so energetic. So it's like, if you can learn to like convince yourself of that, I guess, like, that's just one way of like learning to enjoy the difficult moments and experiences. And again, that's hard considering like certain things. Like, I know difficult times are hard. Like, feel them and experience them and like express your emotions and stuff going through that kind of stuff. But it's like, if you can just train your mind to like find the good in it and like kind of thrive off of it and push through and realize you're going to come out stronger, that's how you can get through it, I guess. Like, you have to be mentally tough to get through a lot of that kind of stuff. So it's like, part of being mentally tough is learning to like find one thing to fixate and just run with it. And it's like, when I'm literally running, I'm thinking about how good I'm going to feel the rest of the day. Or but again, it's not always just like physical pain. It can be like something hard in your life, but just understanding how you'll come out bigger and stronger, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, anything. Like, you'll come out better in the end. It's just it's a grind getting through it, but it will be worth it. So keep pushing, okay? Number 12 is, oh, this is good. I heard this on Bradley's podcast, and he was talking to a host, and he was saying, well, let me read the quote first. He said, you don't find a happy life, you create it. And that is so true, because I think oftentimes, this guy literally, he was a very successful businessman, and he was saying how once his daughter is like to a certain point in her life, like, him and his wife will be happy. And Bradley literally looked at him on this podcast and was like, no, you won't be. Like, choose to be happy today, choose to be happy now, because I promise you, when you get to that point in your life, you're not going to be any happier. Like, you have to create and choose to be happy now, like nothing in life that like you think will bring you all this happiness and joy, like you'll be at that point and you'll find another reason to not feel joy and not feel happiness. Like for example, like I thought on Instagram hitting 100K I would feel like, oh, so much enjoyment and success, and finally, like, it's a big milestone. I was proud of myself, but then it's like that's a really cool thing, but it's like it didn't bring me any more joy because I'm sitting there like, okay, you move on to the next thing. It's I want 110K, I want 200K, I want 1 million. Like it's always, there's always gonna be something more that you're striving for. So it's like, don't bank on a certain milestone in your life to bring you happiness. It's like you have to learn to create that just in life in itself. You'll never be happy when, like, it's just, you're never gonna be happy when this happens. It's, you gotta learn to be happy now. Anyway, moving on to number 13. The price of progress is pain. It is. I think I saw this on a clip on like a reel or something, but that seems like kind of just straightforward and blunt, but like honestly it is. The price of progress is pain. I feel like you don't really progress in much in your life without kind of going through the grit and the pain of it, the discomfort. Like in training at the gym, like you're in physical pain running or like lifting super heavy weights to see progress, or like when you're studying a ton to see progress in like a certain course. Like it's not physically painful, but sitting there mentally it's a little painful, you know, to like sit and study and do that. So it's like there's very rarely, if at all, I can't really think of any examples where you see progress but there wasn't pain involved to get there. So again, that's just another one of those things to remind yourself of like the difficult things and like the mental toughness. It's like it's part of it. So just you kind of gotta like accept it and embrace it and enjoy it as best you can, because that's just, it's, you gotta do it. You gotta experience that to be successful. It's just, it's life. That's just how it is. And there's really not much you can do to change it. So I guess, yeah, just understand that, and it just helps with mental toughness. And then moving on, don't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't put in. And I'm like, that's just straight up. Like I like when people are blunt and straight up with me. So I'm like, if someone were to say that, I'd be like, you know what, valid, fair, like thank you. Because it's like, don't sit there and complain about a life you don't have, or the money you don't have, or the body you don't have, if you're not sitting there not putting in the work for it. You're not grinding your butt to start a side hustle or put in more hours, you know, work a double or get a second job or go to the gym an extra 20 minutes and do your cardio, or choose to like portion control, you know, like those things. Again, it's those like instant gratifications where it's easier to not do it in the moment, but you pay the price later. So it's like, don't complain about not being where you want to be when you're not making the decisions you need to make to get there. And again, it's kind of that like side of being soft and sweet and kind to yourself, because I do understand that, and I do get that. I don't want you guys to be like full like grind and like not enjoy life and make all these decisions and like suffer. Like enjoy life, enjoy food, enjoy the moments. But then again, it's like if you have a certain goal, you have to find that form of self-discipline in a sense. Like there's gonna be those moments where you can't necessarily do that if you want to get to a certain point, and that's your choice of where you want to get to. But it's like you have to be honest with yourself and just be straight up with yourself and be like, okay, is this decision gonna get me to where I want to be, yes or no? And if you have that conversation and it's still worth it to you in that moment, then all right. But like maybe try to have that check-in with yourself before you make decisions impulsively, you know? The next one is, you only feel like you're winning probably 1% of the time. So you can't bank on that to be like, you're like, when you want to be successful. Okay, what I mean, let me backtrack. What I mean by this is like, I saw this on I think it was Andy Frisco, the owner of like he's like the starter of the 75 Hard and First Form, big like podcaster, big like mindset motivational guy. But he was like, success is only 1% of it. Like the other 90%, you're gonna feel like you're not getting anywhere. The other 4%, you're gonna feel like you're failing. A 4%, you might feel confident and like good, but like that 1% of success, it's 1% of that 100. Like such a slim part of your life, you're gonna feel like, all right, I'm succeeding, I'm doing it, I'm accomplishing it, and then you're gonna feel like you're failing again. And it's just, that's just life. It's just like a revolving cycle, but you have to keep at it, and you have to keep straight, and you have to keep going, because there's just always gonna be something more to do and accomplish. So it's like, especially like in business, and I feel like in the gym, in any area of life, that is kind of how it is. And I'm like, that's powerful just to like understand that, I guess. I think knowing that is going to make it maybe easier when you're in those moments of like failing and you feel like you're not getting anywhere, you feel like you're not making momentum, because that's going to be most of the time. But like, you will succeed eventually, but it's such a small glimpse. But like, that small glimpse has to be worth it for you, I guess. Like, that has to be enough motivation. You gotta want it bad enough for that 1% to be good enough for you. But yeah, when I heard that, I was like, wow, like I've never really thought about that, but it is true. But the thing with that too that he said, I just saw my note, you have to learn how to stack that 1% on top of that 1% on top of that 1% on top of that 1% to build you up to where you want to be. Like, when you stack that, that makes a mountain, that makes a tower. Like, that's where momentum is, that's where growth is. Like, you're getting somewhere with all those little wins. That's a lot of wins, you know, like that really adds up. So right on that too, like, it's like that 1%, it's going to be 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Like, it's going to become more of a bigger portion of your life the more you succeed. But the only way you're going to do that is to keep going and keep moving forward and keep kind of the grind and the grit through the beginning parts, you know. So yeah, I like that. Next one, if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. Plain and simple. Direction is everything. Having a vision, having a goal, that's why I'm huge on goals. And that's why I'm huge on reflections and redirection. It's like, make sure I have the right vision, and if it's not, let's adapt. But like, have something in mind to work towards. Otherwise, like, you're gonna lack a lot of like discipline and motivation, because like, you won't even know what you're doing it for. Like, what's the point? And again, like, signing up for that half marathon, like, it gives me direction and a goal to work for when I'm running. And I feel like it would be hard, and it was before I signed up for this second half marathon. When I was running, I didn't really have a purpose to run. It was just to go run. So I wasn't pushing myself in those hard runs and going the extra mile, you know, and like going on an 8-mile run when I didn't want to. Heck, if I didn't have a half marathon coming up, I would have not gotten up at 5 a.m. today. I can promise you I was very tired, and the girl that I was running with wasn't gonna go, and I would have easily been like, you know what, I'll rest today, I could use it. But I'm like, no, I have to get these miles in, I have to get the mileage in, because I have a race coming up. How do I expect myself to be in shape if I'm skipping my long runs? I can't be doing that. So having that goal and that direction to work towards in life it's everything. You really need that. So if you don't have, like, vision boards are huge. I think that's awesome. Or setting like long-term goals, short-term goals, like, have mini goals to work towards and have big goals to work towards too, in every aspect of your life, because it will keep you on track and dialed in and focused and motivated and disciplined. Like, it will give you those, having that goal. And then what you think about yourself becomes a reality of who you are. I was like, whoa, like, that is crazy. Like, you'll naturally become a byproduct of that. So what you think about yourself is who you will become. So if you sit there and you have all these negative thoughts about yourself, I'm ugly, I'm overweight, I'm like worthless, I'm bad at this, I'm dumb, you're gonna be that, you're gonna become that. But if you sit there, and that's why I think affirmations are huge, and what you tell yourself is so powerful. Everything you speak, like, I don't even like saying that thing on this podcast about myself. I don't even want to speak that to existence. But if you're like, Chloe, you're strong, you're fit, you're motivated, you're a runner, you're strong. I mean, thinking strong in two different senses, but like physically strong. You are a podcaster, like, you are a TikTok, you are a YouTuber. Like, I have to convince myself of that, because sometimes, like, I feel like I get a little imposter syndrome, and I forget that too. But it's like, remind yourself of that, tell yourself of that. If you're starting new on Instagram, you're still an Instagrammer. Tell yourself you are. Like, speak that into it. Convince yourself of it. And again, like I said, you'll become a byproduct of that. So choose the good side of it. Choose the productive side. Tell yourself the good things so you become a byproduct of something good rather than the negatives of it. Because thoughts they're insanely powerful. Like, they are just more than you think they are. So be telling yourself, convince yourself, view yourself as what you want to become, and you will become. Like, sitting there picking your body apart because you think you're all these like flaws, don't focus, don't fixate on that, because that's what it's gonna emphasize. I feel like then that part grows worse. So focus on the things that you love about yourself, at least, you know. But yeah, okay, the next one is, oh yeah, this is a good one. This is like my OG quote: if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. think about it. Like, if you're not sitting there challenging and forcing yourself into an uncomfortable position you've never been in, and like trying new things, if it's not hard, how is it going to change you? Like, if it's simple and easy, you're not really going to learn things. You're not going to push yourself to new avenues and new places, like mentally, physically, literally. Like, challenge is good. Like I said, the pain is good, the discomfort's good, because that's where growth happens. That's where you evolve, that's where you adapt, that's where you become better. So if you want change, and change is always good, change leads to growth, you got to challenge yourself a bit, you know. That's literally was on the back of my merch. Like, I live by that quote. I have a sign, me and my dad, that's just like our thing, and I always keep that in mind in challenging moments. Like, if it's meant to be hard. The things are meant to be hard because you will grow from it. Okay, this one, I don't know how y'all are gonna feel about it, but it's more of like a fact, I guess. I saw this on, I actually saw this 2 separate times, and I think it was 2 clips of podcasts, but it was males talking about the correlation between like fitness and a person's physique, and how it correlates to business and like success in business. And I was like, huh? And I was kind of confused at first. I'm like, how does that have anything to do with business? But they were saying how a person's like physique, if you walk in and you're like a fit, strong man or female, whatever, it's telling on like your ability to stay consistent, to work hard, to have grit, determination, delayed gratification, like how you can persist through that, and or like be persistent through things and commit to things. And I'm like, it does, it says a lot about you as a person. And I was like kind of mind blown. And I made like a stitch to this on TikTok, and I was kind of saying, this is why I only date gym guys. But I'm like, I think it is, because I'm really about like a person's like mindset. I guess that's probably the first thing I kind of look for in a person. I like when they're like driven and motivated and grit, and just they're, I don't know, I like that. And so I think that's why I always want to date gym guys, because it's like that comes with it. You can't be shredded crazy in an insane physique, you know, super strong, big, if you're not putting in the work and the time and the consistency to get there, you know. So if you're going into business, or if you're looking for like a spouse or something, like, I guess if you want to take that into consideration, it definitely has a correlation, I would say. So I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I just thought that was really interesting and kind of wanted to like touch on it, because it's something new I had a realization of, and I was like, you know, that's just a great point. I like this one. This next one, it's kind of poetic, but it says, bad chapters can still lead to great stories, wrong paths can still lead to the right places, and failed dreams can still create successful people. And I was like, whoa, like that's really cool to think, just because it's kind of profound. Like, bad chapters in a book can still create a good story. Like, bad things in life can still create beautiful things. Like, you can still, in the end, can be great and beautiful. You just might have to struggle a little bit. And like the wrong path, you're going down the wrong path, it can still turn around and lead to the right direction. Like, you can still end up where you want to be. Sometimes we just take a little detour, we get a little rerouted, we mess up a little bit, but it doesn't mean you can't turn around and go the other way, or go a different direction in life. And failed dreams can still create success. Like, if you think your dream is to open a cupcake shop, but that just never happens, it doesn't mean you're not going to still succeed in life. There's probably another door that's meant to be open instead. So you just have to keep that in mind and keep working and keep being persistent and trusting in that. But I just liked that. Like I said, it was kind of poetic. It was kind of like, aw, beautiful, you know? Anyway, number 21, we're just getting through the list. You'll never be criticized by someone who is doing more than you, only by someone doing less. Now, this kind of reminds me of, like I said, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. But like, people who are to sit there and criticize you are not people. They're not people who are gonna, they're people probably under you, you know, beneath you. They're criticizing you out of a place of like negativity, like hate and jealousy. Like, people doing more than you and maybe more successful than you, they're gonna be so proud of you for trying. They're not gonna be sitting there, if they're critiquing you, it's a helpful criticism. They're trying to help you get better. They want you to succeed like they did. And it's like, that is so true. Like, in every aspect of my life, I have never sat there and criticized somebody who's trying, you know, maybe, I don't like to like say beneath me, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I've only sat there and criticized people who I was jealous of, that were, I viewed above me and more successful than me in a certain area. And I'm like, dang. So really be thinking about that. Think about who you're criticizing and why, if you do that, or And I feel like we all do, you know, we're human. But like the people who are criticizing you, maybe don't take it so personal, because you shouldn't care. You really shouldn't care, because if they're sitting there criticizing you, like, come on, you know? Anyway, 22, you can't change your life if you don't change something. I kind of talked about that before, like, nothing will change if nothing changes. But if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to read that again. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. I kind of already talked about this, but this was just like another version of that, and I'm like, dang, like, you're always going to get what you had in the past if you don't make any changes, if you're still doing the same stuff you did before. So it's like, if you want a different physique, if you want to make more money, you're going to have to change something and do something you've never done before to get results that you've never had before. So I don't know what the secret difference is, like what change you need to make is, but you probably do. So just be honest with yourself, think about it, ponder about it. Look up to the people who are in the position you want to be and be like, where's the difference between our lives? What are they doing that I'm not? I guess, and use that as kind of like an outline of what maybe you should be doing. Use it as a way to correct yourself, you know? But I really like those. Anyway, number 23. It's not what you're capable of, it's what you're willing to do. Mic freaking drop on that one. It's not what you're capable of, it's what you're willing to do. Just because you don't think you have the skills to do it, you just have to have the will. Like, nobody knows how to ride a bike until they ride a bike and learn. Nobody knows how to read until they try to read. Nobody knows how to swim until they jump into a pool and start to try to swim. Like, we're human. We're everything. You have to do everything for the first time eventually. So, like, try it out, you know? You have to be willing to try it. And it's like, I say that with social media all the time. I'm like, guys, just post. Just try. You gotta put your spot there. Every creator on social media started with 0. Every single person did. So it's like, they had the courage to start with no one following them, and they did, and they posted, and then they became successful. So it's like, put your ego aside and be willing to fail, be willing to look like a fool, but put the work in, have the will to do it and the courage to do it. Because it's not if you have the skills or if you don't. You can learn the skills, you can learn the info, you can teach yourself. That's to be learned, that's to be trained on, that's to be developed over time. But the will, you just gotta make your mind up and do it, you know? That comes within. Everything else, like I said, you can learn how to do. Anyway, we're moving and grooving through this. We're on 24 already. Everything you want is going to make you uncomfortable. Again, I kind of talked about this one, but like, it's uncomfortable. Everything you want in life is probably going to be uncomfortable getting there, like everything new. So just, again, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have to be okay with being in those positions. And 25, because my camera's dying. Anyway, just because there's stuff outside of your control doesn't mean there isn't stuff inside of your control. So I feel like a lot of times we fixate on the things we can't control in our lives, and we dwell on that, and we're like, oh, it's out of my control. But there's so much in your control. Like, focus on what you can control, and a lot of those outside things that you can't control will be affected by what you can't control. Does that make sense? So like, focus on what you can control. My dad always says this, and I feel like it helps ease your anxiety and your stress too. But a lot of the stuff that you can control shouldn't really even matter, because like, that's just life. It is what it is. God's plan, baby. So like, focus on what you can control, and yeah. Anyway, we're gonna leave it at that. I don't want to talk too long. This episode is longer than I was expecting, but I hope one of those 25 pieces of advice, little quotes, help change your perspective, changed your life. They all changed mine. Let me know what your favorite one was. Let me know if any of them helped. I hope they did. Anyway, I love you guys so much, and we'll chat in the next episode. Bye, guys.